Thank you so much, Georgia Hunter-Bell, for joining us from your training camp in Portugal. So despite all the headlines that go out about you, you have been in our sport for a long, long time. You're English schools champion, which is a massive deal here in the UK, British University champion here at the University of Birmingham. But we have to acknowledge that to the public, you were a little bit of an overnight success with that Olympic bronze and that British record. And you're only just over a year into being a full-time athlete. How's it going? Has it lived up to your expectations? Is it everything you hoped for?
Yeah, you're right. I feel like most overnight successes, it's like 20 plus years of work, but it just happens quickly towards the end. But yeah, obviously I have a huge background in sport and in running, was running from a very young age and did all the kind of domestic UK competitions. But yeah, kind of big change last year going full time. The goal was just go all in to see if I can make the Olympics. So to quit my job and just try. And the idea was if I didn't make it, then I could always look back and say, okay, at least I gave it everything. But obviously I did make it and it kind of went pretty well. And so I've been living that professional full-time athlete life for just over a year now. And it's amazing. Yeah, I'm here in Portugal, in Montegordo. I woke up at 8:30 this morning and had a leisurely breakfast and coffee. So I've been training with the team. We've been in the gym, and yeah, I'm just loving it. It's still very much a novelty to me. I still feel like it's not the regular 9 to 5 tech sales job that I was doing for 7 years. So I don't feel like I don't feel like it's work at all. I'm really enjoying it.
Have you managed to maintain that sort of ethos then, that it is a novelty, that it is special? Yeah, how do you maintain that when you are under so much pressure to perform as an athlete, but you still want to see this as an opportunity?
I just feel like I was under loads of pressure in my tech sales job as well. So like I was working in a job where if you didn't hit quota every month, you could be fired, and like people were fired regularly. So I feel like, yeah, it's pressure, but in a way, I feel like it's a different kind of pressure to what I was doing before. And I'm actually doing my passion for a job this time. So I just feel like, yeah, when we have horrible sessions out on the track and I've got that adrenaline in my stomach and Jen and Trevor like, okay, we're going to do a flat out 500-meter rep now. And I'm thinking, oh my God, why am I doing this to myself? I just think I could be in an office right now. I could be on back-to-back Zoom calls. I could be, doing something that I would enjoy less. And so that I think just gives me good perspective.
It doesn't sound like you miss your old job at all, Georgia.
I mean, it was a good job, and I had lots of good friends and things like that. But I just don't think you can beat like being out in the sunshine with your friends, running, like happy, healthy, like, and the fact that this is your job and you get to do it. It's not just a hobby. Is just, yeah, I feel very, very lucky, and yeah, you can't beat it.
Yeah, and that pressure's switched now, though, hasn't it? So when you had those day-to-day pressures in your job, now the increased scrutiny actually comes from the media, the public. Since Paris, there's so much more attention on you.
Yeah.
It comes with some very exciting looking commercial stuff as well. I'm sure there's like loads of benefits to it as well. But I'm sort of wondering, has that been easy to deal with? And your family ties, the fact that your dad's quite a well-known political journalist, has that sort of stuff all kind of helped you to deal with what's come your way?
I'm not sure. Like, I do think that it is a different kind of pressure in the sense of I had my first real taste of it this year of like being expected to do very well in a public championship and failing, and like the backlash from that, like the side of social media where people are really kind of coming for you. And when your job is so public like that, the losses are definitely, you're much more vulnerable. Whereas, in my tech sales job, if I did something wrong, everyone in the office would know, but not everyone on the street would know, So it's different for that. But then I do think that the flip side of that is when it goes well and when you do really well, then obviously you get the recognition, and that's also really rewarding. So I'm still adjusting to it. It is very weird. As much as there can be good things with social media and just the media in general, there's also another side to it. And the narratives can be really good for the storylines in racing, but they're not necessarily always good for the the mental health of the athlete. So it's definitely a navigating process, but I just think with any job, you're going to have things you love about it and things that are bad. And this is just, yeah, what being a professional athlete is. And I'm getting used to it.
I think that's something that's really shone through for me is last year. You actually said it to me a few times. You sort of said, this is your free swing. This is your free hit year without that pressure. And like, bloody hell, did you capitalize on it? But like, you've got that mindset set now from you have to change that mindset. You got an Olympic medal.
Yeah.
You need to, I imagine, you need to build on that and change that mindset. So you're trying to do that personally, kind of internally, but then that's also mirrored in that external environment. Like, that's a massive acceleration to try and do kind of side by side.
Definitely. And I do think straight up racing last year was so much easier than it is for me this year. Like, even though I've improved as an athlete this year, like, I can see I'm just faster than I was this time last year. Like, we've had a year to implement other stuff that I wasn't able to do last year, but the way I feel going into races is different to last year. Like, last year was just pure adrenaline, fun, excitement. I felt that swing every single race, and it's just not that this year. Like, I still look forward to racing, but I am finding it harder than I did last year. Like, I really have to do a lot more mental prep. I have to just be really disciplined with myself of going into races and just knowing what I need to do to be in the right headspace. And it's really made me have a newfound respect for people that are consistently at the top and just are expected to win all the time. And especially people like Faith, like being close to Faith recently this year, being with her at the Breaking Four event. Like, it was actually interesting, like the most nervous I've ever seen her. And I've never really seen her like that. And it really made me think, like, oh gosh, yeah, like when you're just so good all the time, the bar just keeps going up and up and up and up of what is expected of you, what you expect of yourself. And I just thought that was really interesting. And yeah, I think it's a lot harder than maybe people see from the outside.
I mean, you've been through, like we mentioned, you've done the whole junior career as an athlete. I'm sure there are plenty of tears and and drama as with every teenage runner. But you know, and you touched on Appledon there and like the frustrations there. What did you learn about yourself after Appledon as sort of this new version of Georgia, as sort of Georgia 2.0? Like, what came out from Appledon?
Yeah, like that was proper rejection therapy, that that race. Like, I made myself watch the next day the like BBC coverage of like Jen and Keely and everyone in the studio talking about like how they basically were just gonna hang the gold medal around my neck, and then watch the race, and I was like, oh my God, like every part of my body was like tensing up and it was just really uncomfortable. But we learned so much from it, and I think it was definitely a painful day. But we've learned from it that we're not, like, we basically tried to change a bit of a winning formula to win in a big way. And that was just really unnecessary. And I was kind of pushing that, actually. It wasn't really Jen and Trev. I was like, oh, why didn't I run it like this? And they were a bit like, oh, I don't know why we'd need to do that. Like, you run all these other championships in this way. So kind of coming through at the end rather than trying to lead from early on. And I was like, let's just try it. So good note to all athletes out there and coaches, don't try a new tactic in a championship final. I would say maybe test it out at a Diamond League or a Bronze Meet or whatever it is that you're into. Maybe don't ruin a winning formula in a championship final. And then also, like, we hadn't looked back at, I'd actually been quite ill in the run up to it, and I was just like, I'm fine. But actually, again, even more so, you just need to get the job done. And actually, it was interesting because Keely last year was absolutely amazing. I don't know if you guys remember, in her heat, she like front ran a 1:56 and felt incredible. And she looked so bloody good. But they were like, oh, and I think Keely wanted to like do a big race in the final and was like, I want to like win the big way. And they were like, absolutely not. Like, we are just here to get the job done and get the gold medal. And that's the most important thing. And almost if you try and overreach, like we could end up yeah, or like what I did in Appledorn, so missing out on the medals completely. So a tough lesson to learn, but then actually now that's a lesson learned for life. We're never gonna do something like that at championships again, and we're always going to be really, really close to what's happened in the run up. What was true a month ago might not be true this week, depending on the training that you've had and things like that. So just more logical thinking.
What was the drive behind that change then, Georgia, when you went into those championships? Because you were running really well. You had that fantastic race and the Melrose Games as well, which was just a few weeks before that.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Like things have just been going really well. Like I won the Keeley Classic front running that, and just missed out on going sub 4 and the British record there. I had won the Melrose Games in a tactical race, and I just kind of wanted to really challenge myself. But I just again think like maybe a Melrose Games would have been in a good place to do that, because it's not. Yeah, I just think you can't risk anything in a championship. So I think I got a little bit carried away, I would say. So taking some accountability and like reflecting, who just like, okay, the stakes are too high or something like that to risk, and I won't be doing that again.
No, that's yeah, that definitely. But just the fact that you've got that kind of the self-awareness to realise that as well, like I think that shows. Yeah, so we've talked about this on the podcast, me and Rich and Katie, that when you race, you look so calm, you look so together. You've obviously given us an insight there into perhaps when it wasn't quite the case.
Yeah.
But, like, I do think you bring a special level of calmness and focus to a race. Like, is that just a facade or?
I do think I have that. And Trev says that as well. And I think that is also like a skill that I've worked on, of just being calm under pressure, because things are going to go wrong. They'll always go wrong. It's very rare that you have like a perfect race, but just not letting your heart rate go up really high, not letting you have panics on surging that wastes energy, just like staying calm under pressure. So yeah, I that's not a facade. Hopefully I am just doing that. And yeah, like in races, like the opportunity will come, the moment will come. And I just think it's just being patient, and obviously just loads and loads of practice. I feel like racing now, I feel like I've just done so many races in my life at this point that at a certain point I have to tell myself, okay, you kind of know what you're doing. You kind of have to give yourself some credit. Like you don't always have to be stressing and whatever. You can actually settle into something that you're good at. You practice this, like trust your plan for the race, and hopefully that calmness obviously comes through.
It might be a bit of a stretch, Georgia, for me to do this, but like in terms of transferable skills from what you've been doing in your working life, in terms of problem solving, in terms of contextualizing what matters, what doesn't matter, living a real life that is completely outside of athletics, and then coming back into what is your passion, what you're really good at. Does that help that mindset as well then? Because you're kind of like, this maybe might not have happened.
Yeah, definitely. I do feel like that. I do feel like just having experience of being in the working world helps in so many ways. I mean, there's just the very obvious thing of like, I'm lucky to be here. I know it's not just a hypothetical thing of like, oh, it could change at any moment. Like, no, I know what it's like for it to completely go and you not be able to do this job and this be your last race. Like I have that kind of idea of how fragile it can be. And so I think that helps for perspective with racing, for just, I'm not going to let any opportunities go past me. Whereas I think if you're a really young athlete coming into it, you might be like, oh, I've got my whole career ahead of me. This race doesn't go well, then who knows? Whereas I'm like, no, I've got to seize this, like with everything I've got, and race it almost like it's my last race. But then I just think lots of practical things as well. Like as I say, in that job I had, it was like, it doesn't really matter what your excuse is. Like you had to get it done. Like you had to bring in the sale at the end of the month. And I think that can be useful, because it's like, you just have got to find a way in a race. It doesn't matter if you get boxed or if you get tripped, or if training, something doesn't go perfectly. It's like, okay, well, like, how are we going to adapt? It's not an option to just be like, it's not going to work out.
So I think there are some clear like transferable skills and that's evident, but there's a part of me that wonders, are you ever curious about what would have happened if you got it all together in your early 20s? Like do you see that sort of other life that might have happened?
Definitely. And I think obviously watching what's happened with Keely, like when I graduated from Birmingham, when I was 21, that was when I was moving to the US to go on a track scholarship. But Trev was also very keen for me to move to Manchester, and he was very convinced that he could make me into a world-class 800-meter athlete. He'd already got me to like 203 in a short period of time, and it was just progressing really well. And he was always like, oh yeah, she's the one that got away. And so I do look back now and think, if I'm kind of running this now, then what could I have done if I was working with Trevor and Jen like all throughout my young 20s, looking at what Keely's achieved, what Sarah Healy's achieving, like the development. There is a massive part of me that thinks, what if? But at the same time, I wouldn't have met my now husband. I wouldn't have met like people who were bridesmaids at my wedding. Like I wouldn't have I wouldn't have had the experience of almost like living like a normal person and then living like a athlete. And then who's to say what's actually would be more valuable? Like I don't know if I'd moved to Manchester and I would have actually been pretty unhappy and it wouldn't have worked out. So um there is a part of me that thinks that, but actually I think my journey is like perfect for me.
We're talking about that now then, Georgia, because you're not based up north, are you, with the M11? So how does that work in terms of the dynamics? And is this the way it will stay? You won't be changing, you won't be moving up there. Everything seems to be working at the moment, the dynamics.
Yeah, at the moment, no plans to move to Manchester. So Trev's been like my plan for years now, and so I would just get my plan from him every month, and I would do it around the full-time job. Now that I'm a full-time professional athlete, I'm on camp all the time with them. So this is our like 5th camp of the year, I think. And I'll just go to Manchester in periods where I'm at home. But again, we kind of think, and I even asked Trevor and Jen recently, and I said, do you think I should maybe move to Manchester next year? And they were like, we honestly don't think so, because we see you all the time. You're at training camps. You've got so much like of life and family back home that I think you get a really good balance, and we always trust you to get the work done. And I sometimes think it's valuable to do sessions on your own and then also mix with the group. I think it makes you very aware of pacing because you're responsible for yourself. And I think that's worked really well in races. So I have a really good feel for what like 62 pace feels like, 64 pace feels like. Whereas perhaps if you're always just jumping in a group, you're just being dragged along by boys who are faster than you. You don't have to think as much. So at the moment, no plans to move to Manchester yet.
Talking of boys dragging you around to fast pace, I love the content this week that M11 have been putting out. Your post about like, what is it, married but the chase is still on or whatever.
Yeah.
So your husband get involved then with training? Yeah,
he does a little bit actually. Yeah, so we're calling them HABs. So instead of wags, wives and girlfriends, it's husbands and boyfriends who are coming on the trip. But yeah, like George has been. He's like a pretty good runner for.
Careful,
yeah.
be respectful.
Exactly, like as in he's not by any means a professional athlete runner, but he's a very good like runner, and he's fast as well. So he has been really good for pacing. Like recently, I've just been having to get him to do certain sessions with me if we're at home. I'm like, look, I really need like a lead out, and so if I'm doing flat out 500s, he can do like 300 of it and bring me through for like a pretty good pace. So yeah, we're still trying to decide what is the perfect race between us. Like Trev and Jen are really in on it as well. We think it's probably a 400. And yeah, Trev reckons I'd just go past him in the last 10 meters. But yeah, he's been great out here, and we've had some of the boys that have done some of the pacing, which really makes a huge difference on those tough sessions.
But when you talk about living in London, like, is that important for George's work? And that's a kind of life balance to have as well, isn't it? You're not just asking yourself to buy into your goals, but you're asking your partner as well.
Exactly. And it's like, yeah, he's got to be in the office a few days a week. So it's still great that he can come on a lot of the camps or he can come to a lot of races, but you know, their life is bigger than running as well. And I think it's good that he's got his own stuff going on. And yeah, when we come home, we've got family, and you know, we've just had a little nephew that's been born, and it's just nice to have like a couple of days in the month where you are just can detach and separate and get your cup filled from things outside of running.
What do you think's so special about M11 at the moment, Georgia? Because it's one of those groups which you look at from the outside. If you don't have much knowledge, it just looks like everything seems quite fun.
Yeah.
There seems to be a good balance between getting down to work, but it's not too over serious all the time. I know it's difficult to maybe compare how different training camps work and different setups work if you haven't been in them. But what do you think it is that's so special about what's the setup that you're in?
I think definitely Trev brings a very playful nature to the group, which is, I think, needed with how intense the sessions can be. I think if it was that intensity the whole time, like with his character as well as the training, it would just cause people to drop out or be burnt out, which I can obviously happen in a lot of programs. I think the fact that Jen is also there fully as part of the team just brings a family feel. So you've got Trev setting the plan, but then you've got Jen who's very much involved with everything. She does a lot of kind of like logistics and mentoring into the races and the race plans. And she says, when I did this race, and she can bring a lot of relatability that you respect. And then I just think, yeah, we've got into a place with the group where the training, everyone gives like 100% every training session. And I almost think that's one of the main things that they look for when they bring people in. It's not necessarily that you have to be the fastest already, but like, are you kind of really pushing yourself in a session, or are you one of those people that might sit back and coast or be like, oh, I'm not really feeling it today? Like, we just don't really have those days when it comes to sessions. And so I think, yeah, the mixture of that playful environment with the intensity of training just means that when we get to races, everyone is good to go. And just when other people in the team do well, it makes everyone else want to do well.
I had a good chat with Trev a few years ago about sort of like training ethos, and he just sort of said, if I create a fun and nurturing environment, then I can push them to their absolute limit.
Yeah.
But he said, I need my athletes to feel safe and happy before I ask them to go and absolutely destroy themselves. And that's it. Yeah, that seems like what you're alluding to.
Definitely. And I think they just do that the same way. So like even this camp where we're out here, they were saying, please make sure that, can George come, or can some of the other girls' boyfriends come? Because it's like they want it to be that nurturing family environment. Like they get to know them really well as well. And I think he does that like a good job of really caring about the people, what's going on off the track as well. So they're really in tune with all of their athletes and the different things that we need to be successful. And then, yeah, that's right. When he does sit you an absolute stonker of a session, you're just like happy to do it because, you respect and get along with your coach.
Let's move it on to what's coming up over the next few months, Georgia. And over the last few weeks on this podcast, Hannah is absolutely convinced you're doubling up in Tokyo. What's the plan?
Good question. Well, I first of all would have to earn my place in the 800. So I believe with the criteria, I should be able to go for the 1500 meters, having a medal and having shown form this year. But I would have to come top 2 at British Champs in the 800 meters to be considered for that spot. So that is the plan for this weekend. I'm going to be doing the 800 meters at British Champs. And then I'm honestly not sure. I'd actually love your guys' takes of what you think, because in an ideal world, that would be so amazing to be able to do both and to do well in both. The schedule definitely accommodates for it. So 1500 meters is first, and then there's like multiple rest days in there before you get to the 800 meter final. But I just don't know if trying to do both could scupper you for chances of medal across 2. I almost wish that 800 meters was first, because I actually think that's the one I've got a better chance in doing really well in. And so I'd almost wish I could just do that one, do the best I possibly could, and then do the 15. But there's a chance I could do the 15, come 5th, running 3:51, because that's just where the event is. And then that's completely knackered me out for the 800, and I scrape the final and end up coming 6th because I'm exhausted. So Yeah, I don't know. I'd love your takes and see what you guys think.
I mean, there's no way I would dare step on the toes of Jen and Trev. I don't think they'd ever forgive me. If
What do they
walked-
think?
They also don't know. Like, we're also going back and forth about it, so we haven't decided yet, and we're not going to decide until we get to. I'm going to do a 1500 meters in Celestia, and then I'm going to do an 800 meters in Lausanne, and then we're going to decide straight after that. So we've still got a few weeks.
Yeah, I think you're right to cite where the women's 15's gone. Like, when it's so flat out, you know, it's like back in the day when me and Jen were racing, you could probably, you'd be 50-50, you're going to get a sit and kick. And then you'd be kicking yourselves, wouldn't you? If the 15's 4:10 on a sit and kick, you want to be in it, whatever.
Yeah.
But did you learn anything from doubling in Brussels? Because you doubled at the Diamond League final, didn't you?
Yeah, I doubled. Just that it's hard. That's what I learned.
There was no recovery there, though.
There was no recovery, but it was at the end of the season, which is going to be similar. You know, like September, it will be a good few races in my legs by that point. The 800 was first, and I do think that really does take the zing out of you for that change of pace in the 1500 meters when it comes. So it will be different this year: 1500 meters first, and then the 800. The only thing is I would have those rest days to recover fully. So it wouldn't be back to back day the way how it was in Brussels. But yeah.
If you were to compare your form over 815 this year, though, what are you more happy with?
I would say that I think you have to look at the event as well. Like, it changes every year. What was true last year is not true this year. And last year, the 1500 meters was fast and competitive. And this year, it's got even faster and more competitive. Like, it's literally got Faith's run another world record, and people have come through like, well, Teddy is looking super strong, stronger than she did last year. Whereas with the 800 this year, it's not as strong as it was last year. You know, the world lead at the moment is 156, whereas this time last year it was 154. Just people that were competing last year are not competing this year. So I've done 3 1500s and 3 800s. The 3 1500s I've come 4th, 6th, and 4th, and then the 800s I've come first, second. So like, overall I'm performing better in the 800. And I would actually say my 800 form is better this year. Like, just in training, the sessions are going like that. We started to think in May, before I started racing. That was when Jen started to say, like, we might need to think about just doing the 800 at Worlds this year, because of like these kind of times that we're looking at in training. This might be an 800 opportunity, which was kind of a curveball to me. I was like, oh, really? We would maybe just do that? And she was like, yeah, we have to look at what's going to be better at, you know, what the best medal potential is. So we'll keep tabs on it, but that, you know, it's something that we might have to consider.
Yeah, like you say, situations change, don't they? In the 800s, I mean, I think you're second fastest in the world this year, just behind Daguma, right? And yeah, some of the big hitters that were around last year, it's sort of, the dynamics have changed a bit. You are one of those now.
Yeah, exactly. And like, say if like Faith was injured, then we would be looking at things differently. And you know, it's all just, you have to keep an eye on yourself of what you're doing, but you also have to keep half an eye on everyone else and look at logistically and statistically what is going to be the best opportunity to medal. Because I would rather do one and, you know, come away with the medal than do two and come top or make the final in both. So yeah.
What with the 800, do you feel like a comfort zone because you grew up doing so many 800s? Does it feel a bit easier and a bit kinder?
I feel like the 800 is, maybe because 1500s are just so crazy now, but like when I'm like got an 800, I'm like, oh, thank God. Like, as if 800 today only 2 laps instead of basically 4 fast laps. Obviously I had lots of experience of doing it when I'm younger, but I just feel like you can put yourself in pain for that long and it's okay. Whereas in 1500, the first 2 1500s of the season this year, I felt so uncomfortable throughout the whole thing. Never felt comfortable at any point during them, and just would finish and be like, that was just so hard. Got back into my groove a little bit in Prefontaine by hanging back a little bit and then coming through, which is definitely the way that I should run a 1500. But yeah, I just feel like the 800 first lap takes care of itself, and you've basically got one lap of pain to work through. So I definitely prefer it and look forward to it more.
Do you think you've reached your limit in 1500, or do you think there's more there?
I think Prefontaine made me think that there's more there. Running 3:54, I was really happy with that, and it makes me think that I could hopefully PB again at some point before the end of the season. I mean, 3:52 is a really, really crazy time. And if I could run like a 3:52 again or a 3:53, I would be really happy with that. I think that was really good consistency to last year. So I think that there is hopefully a bit more to come. But I think I've got more to knock off in the 8.
You've mentioned already, Georgia, in London that you were, a lot of the headlines where you would speak to Kelly Holmes about doubling up, and that that sort of relationship seems to have maybe developed over the last year. Can you tell us more about that? Is it effectively an open line?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, so we in the run-ups to the Olympics, we kind of, I'd met her by doing On Camp with Kelly when I was a kid.
I was wondering. I was trying to Google whether you were, because I was saying to Rich, I was on Camp with Kelly for like all of it, and yeah, I thought you might have been involved. That's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like obviously she saw so many athletes, so she probably doesn't even really remember. But like I've got all the photos of me on Camp with Kelly with like some very questionable hairstyles and things like that, just being younger. But then coming back after the Olympics, I met her a few times on like This Morning, and she's just been really. She says anything you need, she knows Trevor and Jen well. So she's like, they obviously know what they're doing, but if you ever just want someone to talk to about certain things, and this was one with everyone asking you going to do the double. It's like, well, everyone will have an opinion, I'm sure. And whatever I do, people will probably say, should have not done that. But like, there are very few people who have actually walked those shoes and done well, and I'd just be really interested to get her take. She might say, I actually don't think it's the best idea now, like in my situation it was, for you it wasn't. So yeah, we're gonna meet up when I'm back from Portugal after British Champs and just have a chat and get her thoughts. But yeah, she's been really kind to me, and yeah, she's obviously someone that I really respect her opinion because she's gone through it all.
She sent me some of the best text messages when I was right in the depths of my career. Honestly, like I've still got them. Amazing. Like not just like the sort of inspirational kind of things that buoy you up, but the practical underneath, like how to recover between rounds. Yeah, get that off her.
Oh, really?
Then you'll be fine. You can do 6 races in 9 days, no problem.
Yeah, well, that's the thing as well. So she was like, when I messaged her saying I'd love to chat, she'd like looked up the schedule, and she was basically like, from the schedule, totally doable. The main things are going to be the recovery, which I'll talk you through it all. Like, and she was just like, who are the physios that are going out on the trip? And it was like some physios that she's worked with, like Ali Rose and things like that. So she was like, okay, so yeah, she's done all that stuff.
Conscious of your time, Georgia, don't want to keep you too long. We'll see you come straight off of a session, I think, after joining us. So thank you for that. Just want to finish with the fact that, so we've recounted the parkrun story a lot. We know a lot about that and how it sort of got you back into it again. I wonder if you were to turn up to one now, and I don't know if you have been to one any time in the last few months or years, do you reckon you could find a way to be unnoticed this time? Aside from running slower.
I think I try obviously just not to draw any attention. I did a park run with the Times just because like we did it for a paper and like went to coffee afterwards, and then I think it's more like when one person notices then a few people notice. And Christmas Day park run, that's always a classic, but I kind of put up that I was doing it and I said who else is doing it. So I think most people wouldn't notice. Most people wouldn't have a clue. I only really get noticed, I think, in running scenarios. So like if I'm down at a track or at a race, people will notice. But I don't think hopefully most people would.
I went totally unnoticed at my local park run at Saturday. So you probably just got to wait a decade and you'll be all right.
Has anyone bumped into any?
really easy to spot though, Hannah, because you're like quite tall and blonde.
Yeah.
Like,
I think they'd be like, it might be, but she's going so slow. It can't be.
they're like, I can't possibly be her.
Can't
Yeah.
possibly. No.
Has anyone turned up to a park run and seen anyone famous before? And any one of you?
Joe Lycett's done the one down in Birmingham.
Right.
Comedian
Yeah.
in Birmingham. That's
That's
our one.
good,
That's our claim to
yeah.
fame.
I think, who have I seen? I feel like loads of people just put it up on their stories afterwards that they've done a park run, maybe like not before. But the founder, Paul Stinton Hewer, I've been to a few where he's there. But again, only if you're really into parkrun, I think, would you know who he was.
Niche.
Yeah, niche.
Yeah. The comedian Joe Wilkinson at my one and Hove Prom is so much of a fixture there that he just gets completely ignored now. Everyone's had a selfie with him now.
Yeah.
He's a volunteer. Like, he actually volunteers and he's doing the timing. It's awesome. He's like completely different as to what he's like on camera.
That's so cute.
There was one thing I know we said we would let you get. There's one thing I wanted to ask, because I love the fact, didn't you and George do an advert for Tinder?
For Hinge, yeah.
For Hinge, sorry, wrong one.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the like coolest pinch me commercial moment you've had other than Hinge? Because
I feel like, I feel like for me, I have obviously just grown up being like, oh, Nike's so cool. So like signing a Nike contract was amazing. But then I've also been riding Canyon bikes for the last few years. And so like now I'm a Nike athlete and a Canyon athlete, and I'm like, that's almost like if you asked me what my dream collaboration would be for brands to work with, I would say those two. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that like I'm actually both of those two things. So yeah, I think that's just been really, really cool, is getting like brands like to recognize you. We have this thing as well where like the coolest thing for me is when other athletes like give you respect or like follow you. So like I had like Lucy Charles Barkley the other day follow me on Instagram, and I was like, George, I was like, oh my god, you won't believe it. Or like some of the cyclists that are in the Tour de France, like some of the athletes will, and I'm just like, that's so cool. And so yeah, I'm waiting I'm holding out for like some of the big dogs to follow me back or support me, and I'm like, yeah, I've made it. I've got the athlete to athlete respect.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you so much, Georgia, especially for dialing in straight from a training camp. We really appreciate it. And you're just a few days away from the British Champs. So we wish you luck with that and with the rest of the season.